Welcome to this ASQ webcast presentation titled Getting the Most Out of Your EQMS. I'm Pablo Baez with ASQ, and today we have hosting this event, Maureen Pienta, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at ETQ. Maureen, let me pass it over to you.
Thanks, Pablo. We're thrilled to have ETQ customers Amber Pitkin, who's the Manager of Quality Management Systems for Wolfspeed, and Stephanie Mignano, the IT Director of Management Systems of Integer here today. They're going to provide an overview of their quality, their roles, their quality program, and the roadmaps, as well as highlight some of the key initiatives related to optimizing their QMS system to drive a strategic quality program. After their overviews, we'll have a Q&A session that will focus on what you need to do to get the most out of your QMS. Amber, thank you so much for taking the time to come today to provide us with an overview of your quality program. I'll let you take it from here.
Hello, everyone. Like Maureen said, I am Amber Pitkin, and I am from Wolfspeed. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are as a company. We harness the power of silicon carbide to change the world for the better. Here is Wolfspeed at a glance. We have about 2,000 patents, and we are the largest manufacturer of silicon carbide. And we make that silicon carbide into semiconductors for mostly power applications. We have partnerships with companies, automotive companies such as Mercedes-Benz and Jaguar Land Rover. We have seen a 3.5 times increase from fiscal year 2022 and expect that to increase into fiscal year 2026. We currently have a device pipeline about $35 billion, and we have about $11 billion in design-in awards in the past 3 years. And we are the #1 producer of silicon carbide substrates in the world. We make about 60% of the world's silicon carbide today. About 2,300, of non-automotive powered device design-ins over the last 3 years. And we expect a 4x increase in silicon carbide power devices from 2022 to 2027. This shows a map of our current location. And so our headquarters is in Durham, North Carolina. We have a few plants here in the US. We are currently building a site in Dallas, Texas, where I'm sitting right now. And we have some European sites. We're currently building one in Saarland, Germany. And we have some sales and support in Asia, as well as we have our we have the world's largest 200 millimeter fab in Marcy, New York. And we are also building the world's largest silicon carbide substrate manufacturing plants in North Carolina, Chatham County, North Carolina currently. So a little bit about me. I'm, like we mentioned earlier, I'm our Quality Management Systems Manager at Wolfspeed. I manage our ETQ Reliance system, our document control team, and also our ETQ Business Analytics for our global quality team, as well as being a certified lead auditor for ISO 9001, IATF 16949, AS 9100, and VDA 6.3 standards. In prior companies, I've been about 3 years in quality officially. I've been about 10+ years in production management, over 20 years in supervisory roles, and I've been in metals and mining, metal injection molding, anodizing and plating, semiconductors, and teaching roles over that time. I have a master's in management. I specialized in organizational leadership and change management, and a bachelor's was in chemistry. Personally, I'm the oldest of 4, and then I'm married and had 4 children, and those kids are 17, 16, 13, and 11. And we just recently went to Disneyland over spring break, and yes, we did brave it. It was a lot of fun and a lot of stress. Hobbies, I love to read, a lot of reading. I also love to craft. I can craft anything, and I pretty much look at something and I say I can make that, and I do it. I'm also a sports mom, so I have 2 girls in lacrosse and 1 girl in soccer, and I'm a marching band mom in the fall also with my oldest daughter, and that keeps us very, very busy. So what can we do with ETQ Reliance? What do we do at Wolfspeed? So we use ETQ a lot. We're very integrated at Wolfspeed, and we continue to look for ways to further integrate. So we began our implementation in 2019 with ETQ. We currently have 14 modules and applications in use. And we continue to do more configurations and updates in all of these modules. 2 additional modules we're in the process of implementing, training management and assets and calibration. I'm actually here in Dallas implementing training management this week, and so it's going really well. Our support team, we have 3 document control admins that also serve as system admins for ETQ. I have 1 ETQ system programmer, and then me as the manager for the team, and then I have 1 business analyst who helps with our reporting, who builds dashboards in our Power BI platform. We've also released very specific trainings based on our configured system. We started with an ETQ basic user training for how to log in and how to navigate to our system. And then we've started releasing more advanced trainings, such as an ETQ document author training, which is like almost an hour-long training with associated quiz for competency purposes. So you can see we use quite a few modules, and we have quite a few workflows within those modules for people to really dig into the functionality of all the different modules that we use. So where are we going with ETQ at Wolfspeed? So integrations that we're looking at, we are currently working with an integration for Active Directory. We want to automate our access management and approval groups to take some of the manual labor out of that for my team. We're also looking at SAP, our ERP system. We're looking to automate some of that or integrate with ETQ. We want to be able to do product traceability. We want to be able to look at RMAs, and then solving other potential pain points between our team and the people that use SAP. We're also looking to solve user experience issues. So we have quite a few user frustrations that we look to solve, and so we want to implement our backlog patches. We're about 2 patches behind that we would like to implement, because there's definitely some really great improvements that we know of in those patches. We also wanted to use increased knowledge sharing and best practices across companies, because we think that we can leverage that information to do better configurations and better use of the system. We've talked with ETQ about maybe having toggles that system admins can choose what features to implement or not, such as auto saving, logging out on browser close, etc., so that organizations can have a choice on whether to implement those or not. And then we are going to do continued recording of specialized training and pushing that training out through training management module to educate users on better use of the ETQ system so that we have less implementation heartache for a lot of our modules. So we have some current upcoming projects. We are working on an 8D dynamic flow process, which is basically individual and customizable 8D workflow that's able to go on an individual part level basis and skip 8D steps as needed. And basically it's hand tailored on the part level basis when we have customer returns. And then we're also working on the enhanced FMEA module. It's a little bit backburnered right now due to budget, but we still want it on the table for possible implementation because of the automotive combined AIAG VDA requirements. So,
Great.
And
Thanks.
that is everything for me.
Thanks, Amber. Certainly an impressive program, and we look forward to talking about it more in the Q&A session. And with that, I would like, now we'll hear from Stephanie on the great things that Integer is doing to ensure quality excellence. So I will hand it over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Maureen. So Integer, we are a medical device company, the largest medical device outsourced manufacturer. So we don't go direct to the customer. Our customer goes direct to the hospitals. We're mainly focused in cardiac, neuromodulation, vascular. We also have a small company called ElectroChem that is focused on niche applications and for batteries in energy, military, and environmental markets. We are about 1.6 billion in revenue, over 11,000 associates, 19 manufacturing facilities. Some of those facilities actually house R&D centers, and then there's additional R&D centers on top of that. So 9 R&D centers altogether. You can kind of see our makeup of our product mix. Most of it is our C&V, which is 52%. Then our CRM&N category has about 38%. And then we have some surgical and orthopedics and portable devices that are about 7%. And then the non-medical batteries with that, with ElectroChem is about 3%. This gives you a view of us worldwide. You'll see a lot of sites in the US. We're also global with sites in other countries, 3 sites in Mexico, in the Dominican, and then over in Europe, which is actually where I'm at right now, in Ireland, Switzerland, and then in Malaysia. This gives you kind of a picture view of what we actually do. I remember seeing this for the first time going, what in the world is some of this stuff? Hopefully none of us ever have to find out because it is medical devices. You can see on the left-hand side, that is a pacemaker battery. And then throughout the rest of this is, this is surgical devices that's used in surgeries every day. More than likely, one of your loved ones has had one of these devices used on them at one time.
Cool.
A little about me. I've been at Integer for a little over 2 years now. I am the director of IT applications, so I am technically in IT. I do have any tools in the manufacturing, quality, and engineering areas. So that's why the quality management system, ETQ Reliance, is in my purview and under all my responsibility with my team. Before that, I was actually in the flooring industry for about 10 years. Mohawk owns Dow, Tile, and Unilin, and I worked at all 3 companies at one point or another. Very similar responsibilities there, and did work on quality management tools. And before that, I was in aerospace and defense for about 10 years. My education, I have a bachelor's degree in CIS, and it was a double major in CIS and production operations management. And I have an MBA from Texas A&M Commerce. My family is my number one thing. This is a picture of my son and my husband right after church one Easter Sunday morning. And then there's another one of us on vacation. We love to hike. My son loves to swim, so we're always out in the swimming pool. I love to garden personally. And then travel, there's a couple of pictures of me traveling with friends in Seattle, and then one where I'm in Waterford, Ireland, which is where I'm at right now. Just to give you a little background on, what we've been doing with ETQ Reliance over the last several years. We actually started our relationship with ETQ Reliance in 2011 when we were a smaller company. It was actually Great Batch Medical, and then Integer came along and was formed in 2016. And so we inherited, as Integer, we inherited ETQ Reliance. It was such a good tool that we kept using it and continue to use it. When I joined the company in 2011, we were using a few of the modules. 2021, sorry. We were using a few of the modules, but we have since increased that. We are now using 8 modules. At the time I joined, I think we were only using 4. We've increased that, and we're also working on the training instance at this point. The beauty of ETQ Reliance is that it is easily integrated. And you can see on the left-hand side, the diagram of all the different systems, and kind of the little flower there that's over to the right-hand side in the middle is Reliance, our QMS system. And we already have several integrations that we're either working on or have already accomplished. So we're going to continue to upgrade and continue to integrate with ETQ Reliance. Our roadmap currently, what we did was we put together a planning session. When I got here, there was really no plan on what we were doing next and what was needed. So I started these planning sessions with ETQ and a cross-functional business team. We basically utilized our enterprise initiatives that come out every year from our ELT leadership team, and worked towards, understanding what we could do as a quality group to help support those initiatives. So with that, we actually did a 2-day brainstorming session where we pulled together the roadmap strategy. We went through, we categorized everything by the enterprise initiatives. Outside of that, we did it by, what was actually cost and waste reduction, sustainability, such as maintenance and upgrade of the tools, CI work, and then even some things such as exploration that we might want to do someday that we're really not sure about yet, but we put everything down, categorized it, and prioritized it, ranked it by impact, and then we laid out our roadmap. And this is a view of what that roadmap looks like. What's upcoming is a lot of new integrations that we're going to continue to do, even additional customization. So we're looking at a global search feature this year. We're actually looking at integrations with our manufacturing execution system right now, working on putting together, integrating the training so that we have the training certificates in our MES system to tell us that a worker can actually perform these tasks on this particular machine, et cetera. Also doing an integration with our document control management system. So what happens in MES is no matter what's going on, a new rev is probably going to come out on that particular product. And as that new rev is coming out, you've got to be utilizing the most current documentation. So we're doing an integration between ETQ Reliance and our MES system so that when a new rev is coming out, we know what it is, we know what the document is, and we can use a smart link to pull up that document within the MES system. Next year, we're going to continue to roll out the training module. We're doing a pilot this year. Next year, we're going to roll it out to about 19 sites over about an 18-month period starting in January of next year. There's a lot of other things on the horizon. One of the biggest things is the reporting. We purchased QDL last year, started integrating that into our data lake, which is Snowflake, and then just started working on reporting, automating a lot of the manual reports that we were already doing, which has been tremendous. Had over $500,000 savings just by doing that. And then finding all kinds of interesting issues, finding business issues, finding master data issues. So a lot of results are coming from having this data readily available at our fingertips. One of the other things that when I arrived that was very prominent was that the relationships between the business and IT and even ETQ weren't the best. They could definitely be better, right? And so one of the things I started working on is trying to figure out how we can align, how we can become better partners. And ETQ and the business community, we've all joined together and really done that. The way we did that was, and you can see it on here twice, communicate, communicate, communicate. That was our biggest strategy, was just making sure that everybody was on the same page. Everybody understands what's going on. We started quarterly business reviews with ETQ. And that was really to share our strategy, understand, so that ETQ would understand where we're going, why we're going there, and they can help us make sense of what our next steps should be, share best practices with us, and continue to build on the quality management system that we do have. And that's what I really enjoyed with ETQ. We started building a partnership, and it wasn't just another vendor to me. We actually, sat down together, talked to each other. We were transparent. We got on the same page, and we figured out how we could help each other. And so that started building that partnership between us. Again, the collaboration on the roadmap. We did go out as a business community and an IT community and built the internal roadmap. Then we turned around and worked with ETQ on that. And so built it out even further, added some additional things we didn't even think about with their consultation. As I mentioned earlier, we started our quarterly business reviews, which really helps, because your roadmap's going to change, right? It's going to be fluid. It's always ever changing. And so we had to, make sure that we're reviewing that each time we get together. We do the communication that, this kind of standard start, stop, continue process, which works really well. It helps us be transparent. And then we also give constructive feedback, like what's not working well, what is working well. And, we take it as opportunities, not issues. And the best thing is, with ETQ Reliance, they have other customers. We're not the only customers, and they can tell us what other customers are actually doing and what is working, what's not working. Don't go down that path, because I've seen customer A, B, and C try that, and this is what happens. So they can definitely help you with best practice and guidance. One of the things on the business community side, when I first got here, even IT and quality, it was really, IT was a order takers and quality was just really doing their jobs every day, coming in every day. There was no strategy behind what we were doing. And so we actually had a change in leadership. And once that happened, man, things started changing. We really started communicating. We started building a partnership. We talked to each other and shared the strategy. And once we started doing that between IT and the quality leadership teams, then we started doing it with the rest of the community, the business community. And that really helped. We're, sending out flyer emails explaining what's coming your way, talking through what we call model plant, explaining what training is coming out this year, who's going to be getting the training, talking to the business community, understanding their needs, who needs it first. So it was really great just to start sharing that strategy so people could understand where we're going next. And by doing that, that includes the business, right? You're bringing the business along with you. We've established user groups. It's really still in its infancy, but I'm excited about it. Where they're meeting quarterly. They've met twice now. And so by establishing those business user groups between engineering, quality, even IT's involved, because we actually put documentation into the DCCM in Reliance. So anyways, everybody's getting together. We're talking best practices. We're talking tips and tricks. So it's been really great just seeing that come to fruition. The other thing is we're soliciting feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback on training. Something as simple as we were delivering training in English to some of our Spanish speaking sites, hoping that they were going to get it. And even, your indirect labor doesn't always speak English fluently in your other countries. And so we changed that real quick when we solicited that feedback. And we actually are now having a Spanish speaking training live and recording. So I think it was really good to, understand that, survey and understand what are the needs out there. So we went to the quality groups, we went to the engineering groups, we went to the operations groups, started surveying and understanding what their needs were. And that's part of how we were able to build the roadmap. So the other thing is we've actually put together a cross-functional team. We've only had one meeting so far, but to help us prioritize the projects and understand what should come first, and then understand that CI work also. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Great overview, and really impressive to see the steps that you've taken to improve, the overall, how the team's working together and how you're getting the most out of the QMS. So that's great. Really appreciate that. Now I'm excited to open it up to, Q&A questions and overarching discussion. And, Stephanie, I would love to just stay with you and just talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about how has quality evolved at your organization?
So over the last couple of years, the relationship with the business team and IT has really taken off, even between quality and the other organizations. By building out a strategy, communicating it, involving the business groups into our initiatives, we've really been able to gap that bridge between quality, IT, and the rest of the business community.
That's great. And Amber, how about for yourself?
In the last 2 years that I've been in my role, I've observed the quality management system evolve through further improvement of the system and solving our pain points for our user experiences, so that we can encourage further adoption and usage. So we've had to encourage people to actually use the system, and in order to do that, we've had to make it easier to use, right? So we have been doing the best we can to try to provide easier access to our quality management system through training, on how to access the system, looking for ways to make, access to documents easier on our production floors, having easier access to training materials, by quicker clicks, less clicks and faster clicks. And then providing ready support when users experience frustration. So being readily available to quickly answer questions and providing that support within the system. So, that's been the key to getting people to actually use our QMS.
And it seems like between the two of you, I continued here, communicate, train, and make sure that everybody's on the same page, right? So as important it is to get the system set up right, it's clearly a significant effort that goes beyond that, and really continuous engagement, continuous programs to bring everybody along with you, and to see the benefit and the vision of the quality initiative. So that's great. What is the benefit of, I'm just going to skip to the next slide. What are the benefits of a fully integrated QMS within your organization as opposed to standalone solutions? And I'll start again with you, Stephanie, on this one.
Sure, thanks, Maureen. So, there's several benefits for an integrated system. Anything from improved and consistent data quality. So just understanding the master data coming out of our ERP system and it being consistent with what is in Reliance. Before, we didn't have that. Now we have that integration, and we actually know this, it's coming from the source of truth, and we're not digging around trying to figure out and scratching our heads, what does this mean versus what does it mean in our ERP system? So just that right there was just a game changer when we did that last year. But really, it's just the improved data consistency and accuracy of the data across the systems. Now we're moving into our MES system and have plans to continue to move out to other systems. Enhanced efficiency and productivity. Just by the automated flows between the systems, One of our integrations was with inventory and putting quality holds when, you know, we find that and we're writing up NCRs or inspection issues. So we're easily able to put that particular lot of material on hold until it's been fully inspected, scrapped, or reworked. Another great benefit is for compliance, and where you actually have a full comprehensive traceability of what's going on in all the systems. You know when something was changed, you know how it was changed, what was the source of the change. So just having that traceability is very powerful. The other thing, honestly, just the cost reduction and then the scalability and flexibility of the systems, being able to pull in the data, understand what the business processes are, and then scale with the organization. Now that we've done a few integrations with our ERP system, we've got more requests coming in. And so now we're just going to continue to scale up on that. But I mean, the overall piece that helps us the most, I believe, is coming in through the reporting. Being able to pull together all the information into our data lake, pull and combine it with our ERP system and other sources of data. We're able to get an overall picture of the data and KPIs and being able to understand what's actually happening. And we just really started that. So we've got a long journey ahead of us to start really working through all of the opportunities there.
And that will certainly help you be both preventative and predictive, right? So a combination of the
Correct.
two, which will be great. That's good. How about for you, Amber? What are the benefits that your Wolfspeed's realizing?
For us, a fully integrated QMS system really promotes a quality first mindset because it really fully integrates quality in all aspects of what we do in our day-to-day operations for our employees. So instead of having, multiple systems that, might handle maybe customer complaints in one system, and then maybe in a different system you have your corrective actions, then maybe in another system you have your process documents, and then another system you might have product documents, and everything kind of just exists in its own little silo. By having a fully integrated system, you are able to connect things, you are able to more efficiently do your work, you're able to access those things at your fingertips and have all those relationships, connected very easily together, right? And it just enables you to do your job more efficiently, both for those that actually work in quality, but also the operations folks can do those things. They can enter a quality event very easily. They can, pull up their process documents right there on the production floor very easily. With the integration of the training management, we're also seeing, the ability to also, because it's the same platform, they're able to do their training very easily, right? Like everything, because it's the same and it's the same platform, they're able to take that knowledge from one aspect of what they're doing and apply it to other aspects of what they're doing. And so it just becomes more seamless. And then on top of that, because it's all in the same system, you're also be able to do reporting and do data analytics and link things together and make relationships that you might not have been able to do before with them being in different systems, right? So everything just becomes much more meaningful and much more powerful because you have a fully integrated system.
It sounds like it's just such a holistic approach that people are able to get on board faster too, right? Because they can see kind of the bigger picture through all the different elements. So that's great.
Once they finally drink the Kool-Aid, yeah.
Exactly.
You gotta get them to drink it first.
Yep, totally agree. That's great. That's great. So the next question, Stephanie, is what are some of the things that your organization has operationalized through the use of ETQ based on the corporate objectives? You had talked about how you had some of those meetings earlier when you did your overview. And if you could just provide a little bit more detail, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we get together as a senior leadership team across the business, the company. so director level and above, get together in Frisco, Texas, and we set out and look at our initiatives that have come from ELT. And we start working together as a group, prioritizing our initiatives. And from that, we've taken it, myself and the leadership team and quality has taken that information and then looked at our QMS and figured out how we can support these initiatives. One of the things that came out last year as we were walking through doing our model plant surveys, understanding what the needs were at the sites, the largest thing that came up was tracking and tracing of training. So we looked at this, tried to understand and rationalize, what training was needed, what system would be best used, and what was the actual need? Was it an LMS? Was it tracking and tracing? And when we got down to the bones of it, it really was just tracking and tracing the training and having a centralized and one place to go for the training. So we actually started implementing the training module this year based on that. Another thing that had come out the year before was just the reporting. We basically understood what was in ETQ Reliance, but we didn't have access to it. And so it was being pulled out manually. It was being manipulated and massaged every month, spending hours and hours. Each site was spending hours, and a lot of administrative time was put into this. So we partnered with ETQ. We set out that roadmap for the reporting. We ended up getting QDL, putting it into our data lake. And then now all our reporting is in the data lake, and we're using Power BI. We ended up creating close to 34 reports, and they're being used every single day. I walked into a meeting not too long ago, and our CEO was looking at one of them and started asking our quality director what some of this meant and why weren't we performing on certain actions. So it was really interesting to see and to see it to come to fruition. So that's one of the ways that we at Integer, look at operationalizing and continuing to partner with ETQ.
That's awesome. And again, I think it leads well into the next question, which I'll flip over to you, Amber, which is, what are the third-party integrations that your company has brought into your EQMS, right? So to be able to get some of this reporting and to be able to get some of this data and exciting stuff, but just to be able to be more effective.
Yeah. So we have done some integration with our manufacturing execution system, or MES system, for training. So we've been able to look at interlocking our production tools by querying ETQ for certification. So we're in the process, like I said, of implementing training management, but we've also already figured out that interlock. We've done document control, being able to have document control through an API connection, pull up the documents in a web browser on our factory automation tool. So they click a button within factory automation, it does an API call, through the ETQ dynamic link, and it's able to do that document call based on the production step that lot is on. It will pull up the associated document for that production step. We've also done a little bit of current Oracle. We're transitioning from Oracle to SAP for our ERP system. So we've done a little bit of integration with Oracle, and we're now going to be transitioning to SAP to pull customer information into ETQ. We're going to be doing more of that here in the future. We also do integration into Power BI. We pull our information from our QDL, the Quality Data Lake, into Power BI for reporting. We do quite a lot of that. And then the next on the list, like I mentioned in my slides, is integrating with Active Directory for profile management and approval groups and access management.
Great. And how about, and certainly what a difference it makes when you bring all this together. How about yourself, Stephanie?
So on integrations, we really, Oracle ERP has been the #1 tool that we started integrating. Mainly we have 5 different master data interfaces that were coming in. We're also, and one of the other things that's coming in is inventory transactions. Understanding what inventory is where, and then being able to, from the Reliance system, the QMS system, being able to actually go ahead and set certain lots on hold. So that was really critical for us, as we were spending a lot of time contacting people between, quality and then operations. And it just took a lot of time to understand what lots and where they were, having someone look it up for them, then writing it in one system and then physically putting it on hold in the other system. And now we can do it all just within Reliance. So we don't have to go back and forth between the 2 systems, rely on multiple people to actually do this. Another one of the integrations that we are currently working on is our critical manufacturing MES system. So what we're doing here is, with the training management system that we're currently rolling out, is being able to integrate and understand who has been certified on specific documents and who has been certified on specific tasks. So if you have not had your welding classes, then you can't go use that laser welder. So it actually locks you out of it in the MES system if you don't have the appropriate training assigned to you. The other thing that has been great, as I mentioned before, is the integration with the QDL and our data lake, and being able to bring multiple systems together in our data lake and be able to do reporting off of the multiple systems. The other things we actually have in line to start working on next is with our CAD tool called SolidWorks. One of the things, they have a training simulator called Composer, and what that tool is able to do is to take your CAD file, your drawing, and put it into a template. So we're going to work with that to have it put into build our work instructions. So it's going to actually cut down on our engineers' time. And then that's automatically going to go into our workflow for approvals into Reliance. So we're really excited about that. That's in the planning stages right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The 2 things that you have both talked about throughout is the benefit of the harmonized having a QMS, the talking about the third-party integrations, and the thing that you both continue to really highlight is, the importance for reporting. So Amber, I'm just curious as to what KPIs or key metrics do you use in your organization to measure quality? Because clearly that's an important component of getting the most out of your QMS.
Yeah. So for our senior leadership, most of our KPIs hover around customer satisfaction performance metrics. So our senior leadership, they report out on things such as 8D turnaround times or customer response times to our customers for our 8Ds. And then we report on major events, so things that result in like large scrap events. We also report on what we call low tech events, so things that also, are things that our customers complain about, but maybe aren't things that are necessarily field failures, but are things such as, a mislabel or, a scratch on a wafer or something like that. And then we also report out on PPM, which is, parts per million defects, and both DPPM and RPPM, so returns parts per million and defects parts per million. Those are our main KPI charts. And then we, throughout the organization, we also build quite a few other KPI charts for all of our major business process, that adheres to our quality standards, and they pretty much go throughout all of the major modules that we use in ETQ. So, you know, I have KPIs for document control and for my help desk tickets and for, you know, so we pretty much have, I don't know, dozens of Power BI charts, you know, that measure almost all modules that we have implemented in ETQ.
And those KPIs are so important. So I'm curious as to what are your plans to improve that decision velocity, and then really more curious as to how predictive quality analytics is important for your organization, Amber.
Sure. I mean, all of those charts allow us, and because we use Power BI for them, and we don't use like snapshot reporting, you know, those they're live reporting, so they allow us to see trends in our data. They allow us to look forward in the data also, right, and use that to predict what might happen or when we're heading towards the cliff, so to speak. So you know, it allows us to slice and dice the data in so many different ways because of all of the metadata that's available in ETQ, right? So we spend a lot of time coaching our workforce in putting good quality data into the system so that we get good quality data out of the system, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, you know, when we get good quality data out of the system, we can spend quite a lot of good effort on, you know, good problem solving. We do a lot of time on, we even have the project control module implemented for DMAIC projects, for continuous improvement projects also, and have started tracking those, all based on things that we see in our KPI charts, right? We're like, oh, hey, this is something we need to actually spend some time on. Let's go do a DMAIC project on it. Let's go do a, you know, a Six Sigma project on this, right? And we have several groups. We have a whole operational excellence team that's their main focus, right? So yeah, it definitely brings us up to a higher level of quality throughout the organization by having these metrics, by having these analytic tools at our fingertips, because we're able to spend the time on the low-hanging fruit first, and then, you know, and then as we get that low-hanging fruit out of the way, we can actually use our efforts to, you know, make our processes more robust and make them stronger in the long run.
Which is fantastic, and obviously reducing the cost of quality is key for poor quality is important. And so with that, Stephanie, I was hoping you could explain how you're tracking the cost of both quality and the cost of poor quality, and how that drives to some of your decisions.
Sure. So one of the main things we started focusing on a little over a year ago was we did have some cost of quality aspects, and we were doing some manual reports, but the definitions across the enterprise was different at a lot of the sites. So we standardized that first, understanding what are we going to track, and it really comes down to 4 basic components. Your prevention costs, how can we collect and track that? Internal and external failure are the next 2. And then what some people call appraisal costs, I really call it monitoring and tracking. What are the right things, as Amber mentioned, what are the right things to monitor and understand what that costs to do that, right? So what we've really been trying to concentrate on first is our internal failure costs. You know, let's clean up our own house before we start going externally. So that's where we started looking at tracking our rework and scrap and understanding what is really causing that. We're cleaning up, doing things as simple as cleaning up our rework and scrap disposition codes has made a huge difference. Standardizing those across the enterprise. It's amazing what just, you know, doing something as simple as that can actually start pinpointing what the true issues are. And it forces the organization to actually use the system and pick the right disposition codes by standardizing. The other thing that we've been looking at lately and still looking for some tools and for the right tools for some of our different sites is as labor. We're able to collect it in the sites that have MES and a few sites that have some labor collection tools. There's still some sites that we don't have that at yet. So we're rolling out a strategy for that. But anyways, being able to understand what the labor is, for the rework, for the scrap, what that actually cost us and track that. So that's where we're at right now in our journey. Our next step really is to start laying that out and better understanding what that looks like at the overall cost of quality, at the cost of sales, what it looks like at the cost of 10,000 products produced. So we're trying to get a better understanding of that. It does take time. It does take a lot of work to standardize that, but really in the long run, it's going to be really good. One thing we have been able to do is through our MES system, we've been able to walk through, evaluate what's going on at each one of the inspection points and understanding what quality measures are happening at each one of those inspection points. Then going back to our QMS system, pulling the documentation, understanding why there is, pulling a CR from 5 years ago, understanding why we, wrote up a CR on this. Why did we write up a CAPA on this particular issue? And there's been several incidences where we found that we just stuck an inspection step in this particular process as a minor deviation for it's supposed to be just a temporary deviation, yet it became a permanent inspection. And so now we're starting to go through and we're reducing that those inspections. And by doing that, we're already saving a lot of money. We've quantified it. It's getting up there close to a couple of $1 million and across the enterprise. And we think once we start rolling out the full cost of quality that we'll be able to save millions of dollars at the company. So
that's awesome to hear at the bottom line, right? So that's great. It's clear that both of your organizations are very dedicated to ensuring that you're providing your customers with the highest quality of products, which is so important. And so I'm curious, Amber, from your point of view, how important is supply chain visibility and supplier quality to your organization?
So supply chain visibility and supply quality is super important to our organization because we're both part of the auto and aerospace industries, which need to be able to track products from, basically cradle to grave, right? We have to be able to ensure products are superior quality and that our suppliers have, adequate quality systems and adequate QMS, and that they're able to show evidence that they have that QMS system. And so we have to be able to show our customers that our vendors have, adequate QMS systems. So we have to be able to show that our QMS needs to have the capabilities to track our suppliers, right? So we use the suppliers, materials, and chemicals module to do that. It's almost kind of like we've configured it in a way that it's almost like its own mini QMS system.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it has our approved supplier list. It uses, we track all of our supplier quality agreements in it. We track our, we send out all of we call them our PQIs, which is product quality inquiries. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember what all the acronyms.
So many acronyms.
Yeah. And basically that group uses that as almost their entire QMS system for suppliers, right? So, and then it links very nicely to the CAPA module, to other modules within ETQ, so that when we have supplier corrective actions, our SCARs, things like that, it links very nicely. And so we have it all very nicely contained within ETQ, and we can track all of the supplier issues right there. And, to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues during our external audits or even our internal audits, when we are tracking our suppliers. We're able to show, whether they're compliant to quality standards. When we go and audit them, we have our supplier audits in there as well, and all of that. So it's super important that we're able to show all of our supplier quality information in one place and have it fully integrated with the rest of our system, and that information is readily available to be able to show customers, to be able to show auditors, all of that.
Amazing. It's so clear, and I can't thank both of you enough for the session. It's so clear that you have a very strategic approach to improving processes, to improving your cost of quality, to improving your supplier quality, all with the focus of delivering excellent products out into the market. And you've done this through integrations, reporting, and clearly training and enablement, right, is a key component. And just impressive, both approaches from both of you. And I'm just curious as to, as a last question here during this session, is what advice that you might have that we haven't covered yet today to help maximize the value with an EQMS. And Stephanie, I'll start with you.
Well, we have covered communication, but I can't stress it enough. Just communication between the business community and even with ETQ Reliance, it's key. If you don't have that, if you don't understand what's going on, then you're set up for failure. So that's really the number one thing. The other thing is to build those business partners, build those out in the business community. It can be anywhere from an associate on the floor to a VP, but build those business partnerships with the organization so that they can explain the roadmap, explain the strategy, and work through that. The other great thing is building that partnership with ETQ. I would really stress that once you are looking at them more than just a vendor, and you're looking at it as a partnership, a relationship that it's going to continue to grow, and you're working together, and you're both benefiting from it. I highly recommend also just leaning on ETQ for best practices so they can help guide you. And I mean, so far it hasn't failed us. I think we've been really successful. Like I mentioned earlier, we've already implemented 4 modules in the last 18 months. We're already looking at NXG to upgrade, and we've got a lot more down the pipe that we're excited to get started on.
And to your point, our success is based on your success. So partnership is so important,
Absolutely.
right? It's joint success, which is great. So thank you very much. And Amber, how about from your perspective, any advice that you might have?
Yeah, I would second what Stephanie said. Over communicating is not even a bad thing, right? I mean, you really can't communicate too much, right? And I've seen it so much with change management, especially. You really need to communicate more and more and more, right? And get everyone's buy-in. You really need to get stakeholder input whenever you're implementing anything. You need to also make sure you've got adequate training, right? When you're implementing, you have to provide good training material, easy to understand material, and you need to spend time with people in groups that really need the training. So, for example, I'm out here, spending time. I could have done it all remotely, but they've super appreciated me being out here in person, spending time with the teams individually, training all the different user groups for the training management. I spend time with the trainees, I spend time with the trainers, I spend time with the managers and supervisors, I spend time with the training coordinators, right? And each of them has tailored training to what their roles and responsibilities will be in the training management module. And the implementation, I think, is going a lot better because of that and because of that approach than it would have been if I just said, here's a work instruction, here's how to use the module, have fun, right? And, that approach and spending the time and the effort to do that is going to make this implementation so much better than past implementations where we kind of said, well, we made the module, we configured it the way you want it to, go have fun, right? and figure it out. So that's really, really what's important, is making sure that whenever you're implementing something and you're giving them something new, you're spending the time, you're communicating, and you're really trying to partner with the people that you're giving the tools to.
So important. And one of the things that you said that has resonated really well with me is the fact that a multi-channel approach to training is so important, right? The in-person, there are probably some virtual ones, but the different aspects will really start to engage people as they get the multi-touches. So that's fantastic. Again, I can't thank both of you enough. I think you've both really nailed it on the head, right? With how do you get the most out of your QMS, which is the subject of this. And you are both have great plans. We appreciate both of your partnerships. We feel lucky to be able to work with you. I'll be honest with you, we've done a couple of prep sessions, and from my perspective, I feel very lucky to have engaged. And I'm even more excited about ETQ as I hear how our customers are using it in real time. So thank you both for a tremendous role. And just for everybody, ETQ was built by quality professionals. So we have over 1 million active users, and we have 30 years in quality leadership. We are owned by Hexagon. And as you can see, and hopefully you've heard from today, we are dedicated to partnering, right, with our customers to make sure that we are helping people optimize and maximize the value of our service. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Pablo.
Wow, thank you so much, Amber and Stephanie, for taking the time to share your stories and your many insights on this important topic. And of course, to Maureen and the ETQ team for bringing this webcast and speakers together for our members at ASQ. To connect with today's speakers and ETQ, you can email your questions to their sales team at sales@etq.com. You can also check out their website for a wealth of resources, including case studies, reports, and webinars just like this. That's at etq.com in their resource library. To learn more about the topic through ASQ, you can visit asq.org and check out our global search at asq.org/search for over 60,000 articles, case studies, courses, and more webcasts like this, as well as downloadable resources. All right, thanks again to our sponsors, ETQ, and our speakers, and we hope to see you at our next webcast event.
Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you.